I'm here. I got red coats. I like it.
You want to welcome people to the channel?
Yeah. Hi, Artemis. Stop. Not Artemis.
Alright, ready? You say, hey, yo, and welcome back to my channel.
Hey, welcome back to my channel.
You gotta be louder or they won't hear you.
What?
You gotta be louder or they won't hear you.
Hey, it's me.
Okay, it's you. Alright, now go. Hey yo, and welcome back to my channel where I talk about writer things, parent things, and writer parent things. This week I'm going to be talking about the tropes for witches that make me, no thank you, and nope right out of there. A reminder that my trope videos are based on my personal preferences, and the nope tropes are tropes that I dislike. Now that that's out the way, onward to the video. Starting my tropes list off, pretty basic in my opinion, is that I just don't like when magic is either inherently good or inherently evil. Fuck that, I love the complexities of human nature. For example, light magic. You can maybe use it as a flashlight, or you can use it as a flare to overwhelm your enemies, or maybe I can use it to torture my enemies by, cauterizing their wounds, or even heal my allies by cauterizing their wounds. I mean, options. I digress. My point is that I just prefer when magic is, well, just magic, and it's the casters that make it, good or bad. I also love when it's a role reversal of what people usually think of for the magic, like healing-based fire magic or destructive-based water magic. Yes, please, and thank you. Though I will always still love destructive fire magic and healing water magic. Give me both, really. I want it all. Let's get straight into this trope. I hate this trope because, well, it's racist. And that is when nobody else in the entire cast has magic except one person of color. Whether it's the shamanic Native American, the Black Voodoo priestess, or the Romani fortune teller, just to name a few, they are going to be the only person with magic, and generally they only exist to help the main cast out. Now, to be clear, this does not count if there are a lot of magic users and the magic user's magic is generally based or inspired by their culture. Again, if there's a lot of them, okay. Because that can be done very well and pretty interestingly when it's, done with a lot of care and respect. This only applies when nobody else has magic, just that one person of color. And this is an issue because it others and exotifies them. Usually, they're also written with a lot of stereotypes in mind. So yeah, not here for it. Not for me. Now, my third trope on the list, I will admit, is primarily a peeve of mine because of the way I was raised, which was pretty gender neutral, and how I view the terms witch and warlock. So the mileage may vary on how justified this is. I get very annoyed when warlock is used to mean boy magic user and witch is used to mean girl magic user. And this is because the term witch itself is supposed to be gender neutral. What? Some may cry, but what about the witch trials of Salem? Yeah, there were dudes hung at the gallows for that too. The way that witch became associated primarily with women is a long, complicated, sordid history, and I'm just not here for it. For me, witch is inherently just like somebody born with magic, while a warlock is someone who struck a deal to get their magic, with like a demon or Satan or just whatever. And this is primarily because the word warlock is Scottish in origin and has some negative connotations and connection to the devil. Now, to be fair, the Scottish did generally just use the term warlock to refer to men, but I digress. I just don't like it. Okay, look. Here's the thing. I am not against sex magic in general. I love the idea of succubi and incubi. I'm also, not against the concept of spicing the bedroom up with a little magic. I am, however, against the idea that magic is just inherently very sexual. Just like you can't cast a big or a little spell without getting a little tingly in the pants or something. There are multiple reasons for this. My top reason definitely being that the vast majority of media that portray sex like this has sex be an inherent natural part that you had since childhood. I'm not down with those implications. Plus, this completely and totally ignores the asexual spectrum. Like, what, are the gray aces and the aces just not as magically potent because they don't get a little tingly when they cast their spells? Are they walking around the coven missing something because they're just like, y'all, it's just magic. It ain't that big a deal. Okay, you should just go get rooms. It's just weird. Then again, that's kind of my experience with chat rooms when I'm around my very thirsty friends. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Point being, yes, let the magic feel nice. Do a little adrenaline rush. Get those endorphins pumping. Hell, maybe even make it a little addictive for a darker story arc. Just not horny. Please, not horny. At this point, I feel it's a little important to point out that I absolutely adored the original Sabrina the Teenage Witch. However, hear me out. Her being a half-witch isn't actually that big a deal. All that matters with it is she has to balance a dynamic of a magical world and a non-magical world where magic just isn't that well known. But her being a half-witch very rarely, if ever, affects her actual powers. And even if it does, because of the campy nature of the show, it's generally just kind of over the top silly or a big joke that, it's entertaining. What I'm referring to with half-witches is usually when being a half-witch somehow means that they are less powerful, or that they have a shorter life expectancy, or just comes with some major drawbacks. Now, the reason that I don't like this trope is because for me, a witch is just somebody who can do magic. Even when they're non-human magical beings, I'm like, you either can do magic or you can't do magic. But maybe she's born with it. Maybe she learned it from a spell book. But either way, they can do magic. Having this trope isn't going to actually make me nope out of a story, and it's probably not going to prevent me from enjoying or reading it. I mean, as stated, I love Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but it's definitely a trope that just, nope, I don't want it. I would prefer if this isn't a thing. Unequal rites is when there is a rivalry between two different sources of magic, such as wizards who study to learn their magic and sorcerers who inherit their magic. Now, the rivalry itself isn't what I have an issue with. What I have an issue with is when the narrative is trying to convince me that one is better than the other and will go out of its way to shine the losing side in a really shitty light. I don't like this because, to me, either way of getting magic should be a viable and just fine way to get magic. There should be people who excel on both sides and people who fail miserably on both sides. But a lot of times, the overwhelming, this side is right and they're more powerful and this is the thing that should happen, it's just kind of boring to me. I like variety. I like spice. I want the character who's using option A to find a truly worthy adversary in option B. Or they can find a love interest in option B and then they, get to know each other and learn to love and appreciate the strengths and weaknesses of the opposing side. I'm here for that too. Options. Variety. It's really all I ask in life. Okay, that's not true. I ask for a lot, but hey, this is my bitch about tropes video. I like witches as protagonist. I like witches as antagonist. I like witches as monsters. I like witches in a large variety of roles. However, when we got a ton, I mean like a ton, there's witches like everywhere. Every corner got a witch. And all of them are evil except one. It's highly questionable. I'm not really a fan of the I'm not like other insert classification here stories or tropes. Shocking, I know, because I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. But things just usually are not that clear-cut, and it doesn't really fit for a lot of plot lines. Now, perhaps if we've got a story with a lot of different, like, witch families, and there's this one witch family in particular that's known for being a bunch of shady shits, and therefore they raise their children to be a bunch of shady shits. But then there's that one kid that's like, fuck your nurturing of evil shady shitness, I'ma go be a not shady shit. I could be here for that story, though. Break away from the nurture. Like, I ain't against the shady shitness. I'm just, things. Or maybe you don't know. Who cares? On to the next trope. This may stem from my love of Salem from Sabrina, or even Luna and Artemis from Sailor Moon, but I don't like it when a witch has a familiar and their familiar is just not around. A familiar is A familiar is an animal or a magical being that is bound to the witch and sometimes can enhance their powers or provide guidance. So when a familiar is written into a story and then is just never around, I'm like, why bother giving them a familiar? Witches aren't even actually required to have them. Now, I am a little bit more forgiving of this if the familiar is given a reason for not being around. For example, there's a lot of fighting, a lot of battle for some reason, and the familiar is a vulnerability or a weakness, so the witch prefers to keep them somewhere safe at home. Totally cool with me. Or if the familiar is like a house pet who isn't really supposed to follow them around everywhere anyway. That's fine too. And while that seems really simple and kind of duh, there is a lot of media that doesn't even really bother to do that much. So it's just kind of like, oh yes, so-and-so has a familiar. They're never around, nobody knows what they're doing or where they are, but they exist. And it's just so simple. If there's not even going to be that much effort, just don't do it. I got some mixed feelings about this trope. Like, a lot of mixed feelings. Because on the one hand, I love protection spells and wards and barriers and tokens and stuff like that. But, not all magic systems function that way. And one would think that if they don't function that way, their witches would need some sort of physical protection so they don't get stabby stabbed between, their ribs. But, no, they don't. And sometimes creators will try to come up with a reason or an explanation, and generally this explanation is sketchy at best. Like the armor interfering with casting spells or letting the caster connect to magic because metal, and I'm just like, leather armor? Padded armor. A corset, for fuck's sake. You're not telling me absolutely everything and anything I could use to, protect myself is anti-magic and anti-stabbity-stabbity-stab. Give them some armor to protect themselves, please. Alright, everybody, that's all I got for you this week. Do you like witches? Do you like witch tropes? You got any that get under your skin that you hate, that just makes you turn the TV off, put the book away, whatever? Please, let me know. Leave it in the comments down below. I host live streams on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you'd like to see a sample of my writing, you can check out my website right here at samanthallnasset.com. If you'd like to stalk my social media, that's chill too, at Samantha L. Nasset on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. This week, I hit 400 subscribers, which is just like... So I will be setting up another live stream with the hubby at some point. Who knows when. The fuck is my hair doing here? Doesn't matter. End of the video. So I hope to see you soon. Sam out.